Welcome back to Ginger Kid Outdoors. Today I'm going to be doing a unboxing of a brand new rifle. I mentioned what it was in my previous video. Get rid of this box. What I received in is a Super Duty series by Geissele. This is a heavy barrel model. And to start off, you can see they've got an inspection tag right here to show that they do include a rifle, manual, a weapon lock, and a chamber flag. The box is pretty basic. You do have just a regular foam egg carton on the inside. Again, it's going to come with your manual. It's got a chamber flag and a gun lock, and of course, a little overview there with a QR code for, I'm sure, more stuff from Geissele. Now the rifle, of course, I've already opened, but when you do receive it, it will come to you completely vacuum sealed in this bag. I had to open it up just to basically double check to make sure that the rifle wasn't all dinged up or anything. And I will say from Geissele, there was no issues with it whatsoever. Any like discoloration that you see would have been from me kind of just inspecting it, looking it over, that kind of stuff. Now it does say on the bag from Geissele to remove the little paper straw from the barrel. So you want to go ahead and do that. I think what I'll do next is kind of get this all resituated. Okay, I got the box all folded back up. Now the Geissele does come with the B5 SOP mod stock, their pistol grip. It's got their super selectable safety. So you have a large safety on the left hand side, and then on the right hand side will be a small safety. Going back from there, I should say going forward from there, you have a Geissele SSAEX. This is a trigger that was primarily for the Super Duty line, but they have since released it to just be able to purchase right from their own website there. This is going to have I believe it's roughly a 3.5 to 3.2 total travel on it. The first stage is going to be around 2 pounds, maybe 2.5 pounds, and then the second stage is a pound or a little under. So it is a nice crisp trigger on it. There is, as you can see, go ahead and check that the rifle is in fact clear, but it is a 2-stage trigger, so you'll have that first wall of a couple pounds, and then you're going to go into that well, the take up into the first wall, and then at that first wall you have less than a pound of travel, less than a pound I should say, take up in order to break the trigger then. And it is a real nice crisp break. There's no mush, no play, nothing in it. So when you do get back to that wall, it's very easy in order to break that shot. It does have a standard 6-position, just a standard carbine tube on it. Nothing extravagant there. I was surprised to see that there were no Geissele markings on the tube itself. Nothing on the back. Straight tube to basically straight on the back to signify that it is a mil-spec tube. And of course you can adjust this to where you want it. The SOP mod stock by B5 does have little spots here on both sides for a battery storage. And how you get to those is you have to completely remove the stock, as I previously did, and that allows you to slide and open those, because right now, actually I'll show you. With the way these teardrops work, in order to open it, wow, that is stiff. When you open them, you have to push these little teardrops in, so you have to have it off of the stock in order to get these out. Rotate that one back in. do not want to come out. The other nice thing is as you can see, the entire tube removes out of the stock. Makes it nice and air and watertight. Orient that back in, slide her back in. Make sure you have everything is open there. This is a little tight. I do like that. And you can pretty much adjust it to where your length of pull is. Now the easiest way to measure length of pull is the crotch of your elbow there. If you can easily reach the trigger from there and the pistol grip, that is ideally where you will want your rifle's length of pull set. Okay, I talked about the length of the buffer tube here. I do like the fact that the castle nut back here has been staked in 2 different locations, and the actual plate, which you probably can't see very well, maybe I can orient it here, is actually a Geissele. If I remember correctly, it's a forged stainless steel end plate with a QD socket, and the QD socket is actually limited as to rotation for about maybe 1/4 of a turn or so. So that's a pretty slick idea that they have. Standard dust cover, nothing fantastic. Now a couple things I'll talk about is the push pin and pivot pin has knurling on the front of them. Kind of gives it more of a classy look to it. The knurling is also on the magazine release button here. The buffer in here is a Geissele H2, and it of course is accompanied by a carbine length, I believe it's a Super 42 spring on it. That's what they advertise. Let's take a look. Yep. It's got that Super 42 braided spring, and I doubt you'll be able to see that, but an H2 buffer on it. Go ahead and put that in. Now, another note that I'll mention is the rifle has come, okay, get back in there. Get it on one of the super flats. There we go. Okay, the rifle did come oiled up, but of course any oil that is on production firearms is not intended for actual lubricity. It's there primarily just to prevent any kind of corrosion for long-term storage of the firearms. So what you want to do before you're actually going to shoot it, go degrease it and then go ahead and actually lube it to whatever the manufacturer specifications are, or like an AR like this. There is a whole host of tutorials out of how to properly lubricate and clean this AR system here. The other thing I will mention is I do like the fact that these are quite easy to manipulate. Obviously with gloves not so much, but this push pin is very easy to push in and out. There is a little bit of play between the upper and lower receiver, which is come to be expected. I mean, they don't advertise it as a matched upper and lower, which personally I don't think I want on a rifle like this. This is what they would consider a patrol rifle, something that, you know, you would ultimately be able to stake your life on if you need to. I'm using it pretty much just for coyote hunting and pretty much just property control out here for any kind of varmints. So as far as it being something I could stake my life on, it's not really necessary. But I will say with the general quality on this, and there's witness marks here from when they were actually assembling it to make sure everything was timed up. I noticed there were marks on the back side here from, it looked like a Sharpie that they had on there to witness to make sure that everything was torqued down. I'm assuming when they're going through doing their QC control to make sure everything is torqued down to the proper specs on it, which is another good thing. You don't have to worry about the rifle is going to vibrate loose on you or it was improperly assembled. Geissele is definitely a top notch for that. That's another thing I should have talked about when I had it open, is the bolt carrier on this is of course nano coated, and the bolt itself, if I remember correctly from what I was reading, is forged and is not a solid billet, something that is cut. So it actually adds more strength to the bolt itself. Looks like it's got a special extractor on there, and the cam pin also looks like it is going to be made of a little bit different coating on that as well. I have not disassembled that yet, as you can hopefully see, maybe. No, don't look like it. I was going to show you that the factory O-rings, not gas rings I should say, are good. It does have the Geissele airborne charging handle in it, of course. Reassemble that. I know it doesn't seem like much, but I can't get over how nice it is to be able to have a rifle that's brand new, that you can easily manipulate the takedown pin, so you don't have to sit there with a punch and a hammer just to disassemble your firearm to clean it. Okay, going forward, as I mentioned, just the standard dust cover, the magazine button. The actual magazine catch here is a stainless steel that is a item that Geissele sells separately too. I don't remember what rail this is by Geissele, but I do know that they talked about this is the latest iteration of it. These almost looks like a brass, but it is a hardened steel insert that is pressed into the handguard. So there, instead of it going into an aluminum, like an aluminum handguard like this, if they had these push button swivel set in there, you'd be able to pull them out because aluminum is a lot softer than what the rest of your material is. Now, the only thing Geissele did not add that I have already is a sling attachment point here by mag pull forward. Of course, again, this is going to be a steel attachment, so there is no opportunity for that to like rip out. And then this is a rotation limiting one as well. The flash hider is a Huxworks flash hider that they started putting on the rifles now, and the barrel is of course threaded 1/2 by 28. From there, I'm going to take a brief minute here and take the handguard off so we can look at what the barrel contour is. Okay, so I've got the handguard loosened up. The nice thing with these handguards is it has a captured bolt system, I should say. So that way you don't have to worry about trying to find those bolts or anything. They're tight. They're really tight on there. But yep, again, you can see, I don't know how good you can see it, but on the front of the rifle there is more paint marks. And I'm assuming that is something that they're going to use when they're putting on the barrel nut. So that way, as they tighten it down originally, they're going to mark that, and then they're going to go and loosen and tighten it, loosen and tighten it to make sure it is actually properly seated. That way it allows everything to like marry together, and you don't have to worry about anything walking off then. But why I went ahead and took the handguard off is you can see that it does have a rather stout barrel contour on it. Now, if you're familiar with Geissele, they came out with their own proprietary barrel contour for their standard rifle line for the Super Duties. Now, that's going to have a thinner contour back in, of course, front of the gas block and back behind the gas block as well. This is going to be one of their first adaptations into the heavy barrel foray here. So what you're going to have is a nice heavy contour back here that's got a gradual taper down to the gas block, and then the gas block, it's going to restrict down to a .750 gas block, and then it looks like a straight taper down there out to the 1/2 by 28 threading on there. Again, this is a 16-inch barrel. It's got their Geissele bomb-proof gas block on it. Now what that means is it's got your two little set screws down there, but then they go and pin it on there, so that way there's no way that that gas block is going to move. And I will say this does look like it is a little bit heavier gas tube than what the standard is, because I do see it's a little bit of a turn down up here. So that might have been something that they came out from one of the burn down videos that a individual ran on the standard Super Duty, and then their machine gun upper that they called it, which is a heavier contour from this, but I haven't seen those available yet. But going back to this rifle, I should also mention that this rifle is the model number is 08-625B. Now this will be the black anodized. When I bought it, when they were on sale on their website for Christmas, the flat dark earth sold out right away. So I was actually kind of more looking for the black anyways, a little bit cheaper, but that way you can kind of like use rail panels or paint whatever you want to kind of paint it whatever color you're really looking for. Most everything else I have is black right now for my AR, so I figure I'll continue on with that trend. Okay, from there I'm going to go ahead and I get the handguard back on. I'm sure that's going to be a little bit of a struggle, so I won't make you watch that. I guess before I go and put the handguard on, there was another thing I wanted to do here. Is it has a GA stamped on it, then an HGMFYC, looks like another number is stamped on there, and then 556 NATO 1 and 7 and magnetical particle tested. Now this is also a cold hammer forged barrel as well that is chrome lined, which maybe in some of that abbreviation they did there. I'm not sure what all that stands for, but it is also stamped HBAR, HBAR. So if you're in a state where they require you, if you have an AR, it has to be a heavy barrel variant, because they think that anything that's got a light contour must make it like inherently like more dangerous, so they want you to have a heavy barrel. This rifle is indeed stamped HBAR on the barrel, so I believe it's Massachusetts is one of the states that has that. This should be legal in that state then. So I'll have to do some more research on it. I do not see anything else engraved. Well, of course you got the Geissele logo up here at the very end of the barrel, but I don't see anything else on it except for the little dot down there, which I'm sure is yet another inspection mark that they put on it. So you might look at it and you'd be like, why do they have to use so much paint and stuff on it to like kind of use markup? But it's going to easily come off, so you don't have to worry about any of that. It is good to see that somebody actually does take the quality of building these rifles seriously when it comes to actually not only assembling them, but making sure everything is assembled properly and to what the level of quality you expect for buying a Geissele product. Another step I'm going to do while I'm here give it a little bit of a rundown. Now, since the finish of the barrel is a magnesium phosphate, or a manganese phosphate, I guess I should say, you don't have to do this step, but I started doing it on a lot of my manganese phosphated stuff, because the phosphating will hold oil, and that is what makes it corrosion resistant. So I started using the same oil that I use inside my firearms to ultimately just kind of coat the barrel on it. So hopefully you don't wind up with a rusty looking piece of crap if you spend as much time outdoors as I do, because God knows this rifle will, throughout its lifespan, be out in the rain, snow, cold, you name it. I do live in Wisconsin, so it will definitely see a wide variety of temperatures and ultimately seasons. Yeah, it should be pretty good. Kind of wipe off the excess. Nothing too fancy. And a little bit down there. Again, probably not a step you have to do, but if you're prone to do a lot more upkeep on your rifles, then probably definitely not a step you need to do. But considering how much time I spend cleaning stuff, which isn't very much, yeah, definitely not a bad idea to do. It's not seated in there all the way. So that one's seated, that one did not. So I'll go ahead and take a minute to make sure I have everything lined up right. So that is pretty much, I guess it'd be a fairly comprehensive overview of the heavy barrel Geissele that was just brought out here within the past couple months. This is the Super Duty rifle, 16-inch model, as I mentioned. But the other thing I didn't mention is the maritime bolt release. Now that is definitely a large bolt release. Makes it easy. I mean, that's real easy to find. A massive paddle for releasing the bolt, a nice extra large paddle if you want to go to engage the bolt. I mean, that is a real nice feature of it, I think. Now the only other upgrades I'm going to do is this pistol grip. I played with it quite a bit, but I'm not super happy with it. My biggest thing is the texture. It is a very, very aggressive texture, and I don't have like the best calluses on my hands, so I will say that is probably one thing I'm going to change out. And the other thing is their safety. It's a great safety. Audible clicks when you're going from safe to fire, but all of my ARs now are all set over to a Radian 45-degree throw. So I've got a Radian selector coming for it, and the Myad grip by Magpul. I've got Myads on, I think, every one of my ARs with the exception of my Savage 224 Valkyrie that I have. So I will be replacing that, and that's going to be primarily it. It's already got an oversized oversized magazine well piece on there, which is aluminum, so that's good. Yeah, other than that, about the only other thing to do is to put some accessories on it. Of course, it's not going to want to open. So, to accessorize, all you do is you put it back in the box. You purchase accessories from online, flashlight, sling. Now my sling here is the Geissele sling as well, and Geissele rail covers, and whoop, a couple of them got away from me, and a ladder cover. Throw all those in there. I think I lost one on the ground. Basically just put it back on in the original box it came in. You shake it all up. You should be able to open it up and have a completely accessorized rifle. All right, basically shake it all up and you should be able to open up your rifle, and everything. Working with a box is a lot more difficult than you think it would be. Aha, there we go. As you can see, I've got an extra long lead there on my sling. That I will eventually just cut off and heat seal so it does not unravel. This is the Geissele Super Combat Sling, they call it. It's got a 2-inch pad on it, and you've got inch sling here where you're going to have a nice little adjuster here to pull up any slack. All the hardware on it up for the sling, where you go from your restrictors from your 2-inch padding down to your 1-inch webbing, those are aluminum, and then your tri-glides on here and your buckle are all a thermoplastic of some sort. My QD clips I used are Magpul, of course. I've had the best luck with those. And then all of the little rail panels are Geissele rail panels. Now, to put on the Geissele rail panels, I traditionally run with Magpul, and I'll be honest, Magpul will probably end up going on this. The Geissele's, though, you can press the little middle section out and it has a toggle. If I can activate these with the gloves, to basically toggle in, so when you're putting them on, you'll seat your back section in first, put it on, lock them in place, and now your rail panels are on. which, as you can hear, they are incredibly aggressive for texture, and that is why I will probably take those off and go to Magpoles, because it is very, very aggressive. Now, the flashlight I have on here is the Streamlight ProTac 2.0. I was expecting this to be a lot smaller flashlight, but it is a 2000 lumen output with their new Tap 10 system. It does come with not only the bracket in order to mount it on an M-LOK slot on a 45-degree angle here, it also comes with a standard Picatinny adapter as well, which I had already removed, mounted up on the supplied mount there. It comes with the pressure pad. The actual new back housing here has basically a removable switch on it. I ripped out the plastic, well, the rubber stopper there, because it just kind of dangled there, and I figure if I don't remove it now, it's going to get ripped off and lost at some point, so at least I have it. So if I take this out and I don't use it, I can just stick the little rubber piece back in there to make it watertight. And then it also has a button here, so it's got a kind of like a press and hold for momentary, and then you can press and click it and it'll hold it on. Now, as I mentioned, that is a Tap 10 Streamlight. So you press this adapter, well, the pressure pad up here, push that 10 times, and then on the 10th time you hold it, you will see the beam change over to whatever you're going to have it set on. You can have it set to, as soon as you go to like grab and push down on it, it'll be on the highest setting. Right now I have it set to, you press and hold, it will be on the lowest lumen setting. A double press and then hold will give you the highest lumen setting. I'll have to go through the information on this and see if they have a option where if you press it'll stay on, because as of right now you have to have this pressed in all the time to keep it on. As soon as you release it will release. The previous models I have of the ProTac rail mount weapons light here are all the smaller diameter that take the 1, 2, 3 batteries. I have 3 of those and I have had no problems with those. Those are 1000 lumen output. This one uses a much larger diameter battery that's probably about maybe 3 inches in overall length, and that is a USB rechargeable. So the nice thing is you basically only have to have that one battery. It starts getting low, plug it into a USB-C, and it'll charge your battery back up, so you don't have to constantly keep putting batteries back in your other models, which I believe the standard the high output one, the 1000 lumen model, now has a USB-C rechargeable battery pack that you can get for it, which is a pretty sweet option. I might look into see if the models that I have are compatible with that, and then maybe upgrade all of those to that battery system. I have not had a chance to use this much other than just getting it set up with the flashlight on it. That is the low beam, that is the high beam. So yeah, but as you can see, I mean, that's a lot of texture there, which I guess won't be too bad, because with as much aggressive grip texture as that thing's definitely got to get cut off. But as much, you don't have to worry about the rifle sliding around, but I just think with the way my hands are, last thing I need is to have everything rubbed raw and bleeding all the time. So might be great for competition, but I just don't think it's going to be the greatest thing for me. Right now, the only con that I have with this entire gun is just how aggressive that grip is. I have, of course, not shot it. The one thing I will say is B5, this one might have slipped through their QC, but it does have a little bit of a sharp point right here where, I mean, I'll just take sandpaper, rub that right down, she'll be good to go. I won't have to worry about it then, because right now it's a little sharp right there. So I'm not left-handed either, so I don't have to worry about that being in contact with my cheek. The right-hand side is all nice and smooth, so that is definitely a good addition. The only other thing I will say is this point down here on the tube. These are incredibly sharp as well, and they're kind of sharp points right down in there. So that might be something you want to look into, just kind of knocking that edge off of with a small file. But of course, it's going to mar up the finish on your firearm, so it depends on what you're getting there for. I will probably just take a file on just those little edges just to make sure they're not sharp, because I mean, when you work in cold, the first thing that's going to happen when your hands start getting cold, they're very susceptible to getting cut and bleeding, and you don't want to have that happen. So yeah, overall I would say this has been a fantastic rifle. So next up, I'm going to be doing some shooting in a upcoming video once I get a optic for it. Problem is, I was going to get some iron sights. No, nothing was available in the Magpul, their pro models, and their long range rear with the adjustable drum and the front sight. So I'll wait for those and probably get those on there, get it sighted in. I'm also interested in seeing if the clearance that this supplied Streamlight mount, I should say, not Surefire, Streamlight. I'm a poor, I don't have the money for the Streamlight, not Surefire. Yeah, they both came out about the same time, and they were both around the same money when they first came out. But it's amazing how Surefire really pulled ahead with more contracts and everything, and their prices went up. Streamlight kind of stayed about that same area. They've had a lot of good luck with it, because even the I run Streamlight on several different handguns, especially with my light equipped holster here by Blackhawk, the Omnivore. So yeah, can't wait to see how this one actually performs. 1000 lumens, how well that lights up. I might actually do some videos on that too, just so you can see at different yardage how much illumination this will actually give you. So I might do that when I do a shooting video on this, to basically compare this to my Springfield Armory Saint, so that way you can also, which that brings me to my next point before I close out my video. The gas system on this is not a mid-length gas system. This is Geissele's own Geissele length gas tube for how much distance this is, and then they have their own proprietary gas port that they went to help reduce the felt recoil on the rifle and make it as smooth shooting as possible. So I will be doing that. I might actually put this up against my Daniels Defense Mark 12 as well, to see if there's any difference there in how much like rearward push you're going to have from the rifle, since that is a full rifle length gas system, and that has an A5 buffer tube and A5 H2 buffer that I did put in that. I actually did replace the buffer tube on that Daniels Defense rifle over to the last of my Veltor A5 tubes that I had. So I'm going to keep running this on the carbine length and see how that performs. It's got to be a reason why Geissele never went with that A5. I know the biggest allure to it is on any like automatic fire, which I'm not going to do any of that. It slows down the cyclic rate of the firearm and also reduces wear, from what they were saying on like your more compact firearm, since it is using a rifle length spring then, and a little bit longer than normal carbine buffer tube. So yeah, I'll go into that a little bit later. One kind of final look at it. Again, this is a Geissele sling on this, their Super Combat sling, which I do like it so far. They give you plenty of strap, which I guess is a good thing, depends on how big of an individual you are. So yeah, next up I got to find a optics mount for it and figure out what I'm going to put on it for an LPVO. So I guess that'll be an upcoming video when I do some shooting of it. But that's going to conclude this video for Ginger Kid Outdoors, and stay tuned. We'll see what I come up with next. If I can get some ammunition in for a 7.62x5.4, I want to do a video comparison on the Finnish M39 versus the Mosin Nagant, since I'm seeing a lot of videos coming out on Simo Haya. Now, of course, he used a 2830 Finnish rifle and not the 39, but it's pretty comparable in what it is, just a little bit different stock, and I think the 39 has a different rear sight on it. So yeah, that'll probably be coming up on my next video that I'm going to do after the Geissele here. So I guess if you're looking for any like Mosin content, stay tuned. One last thing before I go. I was looking through the shipping container that the Geissele box came in, of course, and I found a packet of stickers in the bottom of it and a Geissele steak rub combination seasoning. It's called Geissele Super Pixie Rub. So definitely when you're buying directly from a manufacturer, be sure to go through their box completely. They might not put it in the actual box here, but in the shipping container that'll be nondescript when it's sent to your FFL, they might have additional stuff inside that when they go to package it up and send to you. So definitely look through that to see if the manufacturer will send you anything else. Besides that, the sweater that I wore for my video is a fisherman turtleneck. It's 100% merino wool. That is by Farmer Rain, and I mentioned before the retro I have on here is their shiny white. They are no longer going to be manufacturing the shiny white material, so when these retros are gone, they're going to be gone. I think it's going to make an excellent coat for like a white cover up for when eventually I hope I'll have more snow on the ground, kind of show that off a little bit better. But I think it's a great idea to have something that's completely waterproof as a snow cover up. It's roughly around 25 degrees out here today, or I want to say right around -2, -3 Celsius. So it makes a little bit of noise, but it is still incredibly wearable. So usually you get into like any kind of raincoats that are made out of a PVC or a vinyl, they get like real stiff, but this is a proprietary blend that they use that is actually eco-friendly as well. It does not use any petroleum. This is all manufactured out of a base from pine tree, so kind of like a pine tar, I believe is what it is, that is the primary like material used on this. So something that's actually more sustainable than what a lot of the other manufacturers are producing. So as I mentioned before, go to farmerrain.com and check it out and learn more.